Today I'm talking to Malcolm Rees Francis down in central Otago. Malcolm's the winemaker for Rockburn. Welcome, Malcolm. Actually, I'm going to start by congratulating you for being one of our top wineries of New Zealand, 2022. That's a great achievement. So.
Thank you very much. No, it's really nice to be noted and recognised and counted among such illustrious company. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and you've been I checked my facts. You've been at Rockburn for 17 years. That by Central Otago standards is quite a long time. What sort of changes have you seen in that period?
Yeah, there's been a lot really. Companies have come and gone, and personalities have come and gone, and vineyards have come and gone. A lot's been planted in that time. And then you see some quite sort of notable ones, things like Wooing Tree, which was, a really big vineyard right next to Cromwell and very visible, and now it's being turned into houses. So there's some really big changes like that have happened. There's been some really big companies and corporations have moved in down here. LVMH and the Rothschilds and folk like that. So there's been quite a bit of churn happen. Global financial economic factors of the way those waves have come through and shifted the local environment around a little bit as well. And climatically, we've seen some changes too. We haven't had any dire vintages like we had back in the early 2000s and the mid 90s, but we seem to be picking earlier and earlier quite steadily these days. So the days of beginning to pick in April are seemingly quite far behind us now, and I'm sort of regularly the last week of March, but even that's sort of creeping earlier and earlier year on year as well.
Well, my impression is you take a bit of fruit out of Gibbston. And Gibbston's always been to me a fairly marginal, on the edge, sort of cool climate area. It varies within Gibbston, I know, but it seems to be getting the flavours seem to be getting riper, and the wines perhaps more consistent, quite significantly. Can you confirm that or?
Yes, easily. It used to be you'd see one year in 5 or 1 year in 7 would be a good one for Gibbston, and I haven't seen a bad one out of Gibbston for a long time now. Probably the worst thing that's happened to me out of our Gibbston fruit is I've let it hang too long and I've suffered some dehydration. But we've had really great consistency and ripeness from Gibbston, and possibly more so than our plantings here in the Cromwell Basin at Parkburn, which can suffer a little bit because that season comes on quite early now, and you have to move quite quickly to catch it. You've got a little bit longer, leeway with Gibbston as a rule.
Thanks. Can you talk us through? I think it deserves an airing. Your I guess I call it super premium labels. You've got 3, isn't it? The Art, the Chosen, and the Barrels selection labels. Yes. I think currently 9 barrels, isn't it? But that varies from year to year, which always amuses me.
It's one of those rare opportunities to be really honest in the wine industry and say, there's actually 9 barrels worth of this wine that I deem to be suitable. And it's not always 9 barrels. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 12. But I think it's far more intriguing and conversational, perhaps to give those names to that selection, and then people can sort of follow me down that track and find out exactly what it is that I'm trying to display from our best sites and the best years. The cream of the crop for the barrels. So that's the creme de la creme as far as I'm concerned with what our sites are doing and what I'm trying to express from those sites. So that's what the barrels is all about. And that's why there's never the same number, because, if they don't make the cut, they don't make the cut. The art is fruit from a separate site, so not our own vineyards, and it's a bit more of a winemaker's wine where I sort of pull out a few more stops and try and put a few more thumbprints on it. So there's extra oak and extra time in barrel and extra whole bunches and a lot of other sort of bits and pieces, and trying to build quite a bold, relatively extracted style of Pinot, which is not what I do with the barrels or the Rockburn, but it's a different style of Pinot Noir that we can be very successful with down here in Central Otago. We've got a lot of stuffing to play with as a rule. So that's a lot of fun, and that's a really big, bold wine that stands apart. So we elevate that. And then the chosen is something relatively new. So that's select parcels that have got a slightly different story to tell. They're not the cream of the crop that epitomizes what everything that I'm trying to do in that single bottling. But they tell a really significant story from within our vineyards that elevates those parcels above the Rockburn Pinot Noir. And very, very small bottling, so like 4 barrels of each of those between the Hillside and the 777 that we've done out of 2021. So very, very select, very limited.
Thanks for sharing all that with us, and congratulations once again on being one of our top wineries for 2022.
Brilliant. No, really appreciate the accolade and really appreciate this chat. Thanks very much, Bob.